All right, you're in charge, and you have your mentor. Chris McGowan's going to call you in 5 minutes. He goes, go get it done. So Chris McGowan calls, and he's like, hey, you're vice president, and I'm coming down there, and I'm gonna walk you through this. And I said, I'm vice president of what?
So in the 90th minute, in front of no less than 19,000 raving Los Angeles fans, and I know you'll keep me honest on the actual number. 25,000, that was the final?
25,000, yeah.
Okay. On a fairly beautiful sunny day, I would say, the day got instantaneously more beautiful and sunny around the 90th minute. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no question. No question.
And I had the luxury of sitting next to, or sitting one row below, my guest today when Javier Hernandez Chicharito scores the lone goal of a 1-0 win opening day against the MLS Champions NYCFC. Should put you in a pretty good mood today. How are we feeling today?
I feel great today. You go through all these emotions in a game of, you start to rationalize in your mind that 0-0 is not the worst result against the defending champions opening day. And then Javier pulls off a play and your day becomes instantly better. So you walk into work the next morning feeling better about yourself, but trying to turn the page and figuring out how we can capitalize on a moment like that.
So we're joined by the president of the LA Galaxy, Chris Klein. Curious, scale of 1 to 10, what would you rank the performance yesterday?
The performance, I'd rank our performance as a 7. I think getting 3 points. And when I say performance, I'll put everything together in terms of having a sold out crowd. We're kind of that post-COVID looking at our business. So having a sold out crowd opening day on an afternoon, having our biggest star score the game winner against the defending champions. So I give it a 7 just because it was the first game of a 34 game season. You read everything. When you win, you want to read everything, right? When you lose, you want to turn off social media and not look at it. But, just that moment, we've had a couple moments that you can remember, whether it's, Zlatan's goal against LAFC where our stadium just came unglued. And for some reason, people are comparing it to that, which I don't know that I would compare it that way, but the energy and the emotion of starting the year, the emotion that Javier shows in a really raw way, people are comparing it to that. So it sounded loud, and I know for us and for the fans and for our people, it was a great moment.
I'm an observationalist, if I'm anything. And so I did have the luxury of sitting with you in a number of the front office, and you see the play unfold. And by the way, Raheem Edwards kind of made this play, right? I mean,
yeah, it really did.
Did he not? I mean, that ball should have been out of there. He makes it play deep in the zone before setting up Javier. But the place goes bonkers. And then I turn and the front office is going bonkers. And it felt bigger than just, like you said, 3 points. It felt like, all right, there's something to build momentum off of. Is that how you see it?
It is. I mean, we're part, everyone wants to talk about soccer and how it's different than other sports, but you have these moments that we're able to experience. And, a lot of it dates back to last year, and the last time we were in that stadium, it was heartbreak. And not recount it. I mean, we were literally in the playoffs for 33 games and 90 minutes, and then a moment happened, not even in our stadium, that put us out. And so I think it was all of those things combined in coming back with a different set of expectations that made the moment, I guess, bigger.
I'm assuming you spoke to Coach.
Oh yeah.
So how's Vanny feeling? What do you think he would give it on a 0 to 10? Like, where would he rank it?
He'd probably give it lower than I would. He's more measured. I think, and maybe less emotional. He'd probably give it a 6 because, he's looking at the performance and things that we can change. And everyone has that long view, and even sitting and listening to our players after the game huddle up. And, the biggest thing that they talked about wasn't really even Javier. It was that we got a clean sheet and we didn't give up a goal. Everyone questions our defending and things like that. So, I mean, it was, I think probably a 6.
Yeah, I could see him giving it a 6. Yeah. Again, I'll let the audience in on a conversation you and I had just before kickoff. And I was asking you, like, all right, new season, how you feeling about today? And all of your sort of commentary code was, let's not forget we're playing the team that just won the championship. And you didn't say it like that. You were very delicate. But that was my takeaway, that this will be a good test for the Galaxy. And look, I was there. You don't have to go back and watch the record of the game. You guys, I think you took it to him. Like, you had multiple opportunities to score. You certainly looked like the better team on this day. This is just, and again, I'm not a soccer coach. I'm not going to pretend to be one. Yeah. But did you feel that way too?
Yeah, it feels different because, yes, we were the better team on the day. But to give all of it context, it's just kind of what we've been through for the last couple of years. And I'm not talking about COVID. It wasn't that. We've had, coaching changes and some changes, and finding some stability with a coach like Greg Vanney and the group that he's brought in, and having the optimism of even his first year, forget that we didn't make the playoffs, but having some of that optimism and feeling of building throughout the club, not just talking about first team results, to be able to see it unfold. And again, one game of 34, but to be able to see it unfold was encouraging, and another sort of checkpoint of where we are.
This is not the soccer podcast. This is the courageous podcast, right? So I want to get into some tougher questions for you. Just what you wanted.
Yeah,
I know
for that.
But just one more soccer. Just with my own eyes. So Douglas Costa, like, what? This guy's on loan. He's been with the team for 3 weeks. So, like, does he even know, like, how to get around LA yet? But give me a little bit. Like, he seems like a serious difference maker, and man, is he fast.
He is. I mean, he's a difference maker. Douglas Costa came to us. He's on loan from Juventus, so it'll be a permanent deal in the summer. But yeah, I mean, he's a difference maker in a league that's built on parity. What we've seen over recent history is that the team that has difference makers can win it all. We saw it with us, with Landon and David and Robbie Keane. You've seen it with some, when Seattle's won, when Toronto's won, and some of these others, when Atlanta's won. And so to be able to get a player of his caliber that can make a difference in a game is something we're excited about. But again, it's another one of these moves that nothing comes without questions. And, is he too old? Is he too often injured? Is he too this? Is he too that? Is he too emotional? Does he not have enough emotion? Building off of that, but, having a player like him that surely can make that difference is something that gets us excited, and it gets our fans excited as well.
So if anybody knows what it's like to sort of be him, I mean, you played in front of these fans. I mean, I think 90 times you were running rampant down the wing in an LA Galaxy jersey. Like, in your mind, what's changed since you were on the pitch running around versus MLS today?
Our league is sort of gone, and MLS 1.0 was, we launched a league, and we wanted American sports fans to like it. We wanted Ryan Berman to like it.
I do. I like it.
I know you do now, but so we did everything to try and make the American sports fan love soccer out of the 94 World Cup. And then it was like, what we really need to do is we all need to build our own stadiums. And so everyone built their own stadiums, whether it was in the suburbs or whether it was downtown. And then we had this level of expansion that came in, and you had your Seattles and Atlantas and Portland, and all these clubs came in that the league really exploded. And now we're in this moment of teams are spending money, and we're seeing a lot more foreign influence come. We're seeing players being sold overseas that are American players. And so the biggest difference that you have now with our league is that you just have more quality. When I was playing, we had quality, and I was sort of aging out when this new generation was starting. So we had some very good players that could still play in the league today, but there's more of them, more quality, more money, more attention, more eyeballs that are looking at our league and looking at our sport.
I mean, you've had a solid run. I mean, and by the way, you're a pretty solid player. I mean, you played national team. It's not like you were, riding the pine. I mean, you played, but early on, you kind of knew that there had to be life after playing for you. Like, walk me through.
Yeah, I mean, my first contract was $30,000. So you have to think of, what if this ends tomorrow? You don't have something to fall back on.
I mean, how fearful was that for you? Like, were you afraid, like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to make a living playing soccer? Or like, was it a dual strategy?
I wasn't fearful. I think, I wasn't fearful, but I always had the understanding of, this may not last forever. And if it doesn't last forever, I got to figure something else out to do. And so very early on when I was playing, I was figuring out what those things were to do. And I got involved in starting our players union, back in, this was in the early 2000s, and helped negotiate our first collective bargaining agreement. Actually, I got licensed to be a financial advisor. I took my Series 7 and Series 66 just because I wanted to learn, and I had time. I mean, you're home at 1:00. And you're like, I had a young family and figuring out things to do, but I was always just wanted to learn and gather knowledge, and never would have thought that I'd be sitting in this chair, or that I would end up working in sports. I thought I didn't want to coach. I knew that. And a lot of athletes, they figure I'll play and then I'll coach. I knew I didn't want to coach. So I had to look for different avenues to get involved in the sport.
Well, I was like, nope, that's out for me.
What part?
Coaching.
A little bit about what you said is that when you're playing, you're constantly on that edge. You're constantly living up to it. And, one performance, it's like, well, if I don't start the next game and then, this young kid takes my place, I may not have a job next year. Very similar in coaching, is that, you're living in that moment, and you're constantly, whether it's moving your family around or being in different, not that there's pressure in every role, but it was that different type of approach that I just knew I didn't want to be a part of. And, and I think part of it is I have respect for people that do it. You watch someone like Greg Vanney every day. I worked with Bruce Arena for a long time. You watch how they do it every single day, and you have respect for the role. And some people are great at it, and some people are good at other things.
So nearing the end of your career, I'm gonna say graduated, boy. You retire in 2010.
Yeah.
So is Bruce is the coach at that point, right?
Bruce was the coach. It was interesting. So at the beginning of 2010, we were negotiating a collective bargaining agreement, and I was on the executive board of the players union. So we're sitting across from owners and being involved in that negotiation with the league and everything. And we negotiated the agreement, which was, I think it was in March, because it may have pushed our season back a week or so. And, I came back to LA. I was with the Galaxy, came back to LA and got a call from, it was Tim Leiweke, was the CEO of AEG at the time, called me and said, hey, I'd love to have breakfast with you. And I said, oh, I don't wonder where this is going to go.
This can't be good.
He's sort of he's a visionary, but he's just like aggressive. He comes up with ideas. And so we have lunch, breakfast, lunch. And he says, hey, first question, he just got right to it. We haven't even ordered yet. He said, hey, when are you going to retire? I was 34 at the time. I don't know. And he said, well, I think it should be at the end of the year. And I said, okay, why?
I'll take the check. Check,
Yeah,
please.
exactly. So why? And he said, because I think you're going to be the president of a team and I want it to be mine. And he said, and I don't think you should waste time getting started. You got a lot to learn and you got to get involved. And so, I walked away from the meeting. He said, you need to think about it because you should take the year and then you should retire. So I thought about it and came quickly back to him. I said, let's do this. So I decided then to retire. It was the beginning of 2010, just that would be my last season, and not knowing exactly what the role would be as I moved into the front office. But he stayed true to his word in that.
Isn't that amazing when people come into your life who believe in you and like they see something in you that how could you possibly see it? I mean, to be clear, although your blinders are on, right? Mm-hmm. He's critiquing you as you're sort of doing what you do on behalf of the players, right? It's very, very aware. Yeah. But I love that. I think the world needs more of that. We need more positive people that are finding people to believe in and set the path forward. So you go basically from 2011, you're now in the front office.
So in November of 2010, I was named the senior director of our academy. And it was kind of relaunching our academy and things that we're doing there. And so, right at the beginning, all of, kind of that 2011 season. And then, very quickly after that, it was less than 9 months, Tim fired our then president and called me and said, I was in his office earlier that day. And, he was like, you don't know how to sell tickets. You don't know how to market. You don't know how to He's saying all this stuff to me, which is the opposite of what, he said to me a year ago. You don't know how to do all this stuff. And I said to him, Tim, I know how to lead people and I know how to get the most out of people. And I know what I don't know and I'm going to learn. And he sort of get out of my, so I went back to the facility to work and I get a phone call and it was Tim. And he said, hey, Chris McGowan he's now the CEO of group up in Detroit, Illich Sports. And he worked for AEG for a long time. He said, all right, you're in charge. And you have your mentor. Chris McGowan's going to call you in 5 minutes. He goes, go get it done. So Chris McGowan calls and he's like, hey, you're vice president. And I'm coming down there and I'm going to walk you through this. And I said, I'm vice president of what? He goes, you're vice president of nothing. So I was named vice president of nothing, not of marketing, not of sales, not of soccer. It was just vice president. And I literally stood on his shoulder for 9 months until he left to be the CEO of the Portland Trail Blazers. And I just soaked up everything that I could from him. And then, 9 months later, I was named president of the club.
At 37.
I was 30. No, I was 34 when I was 36 years old.
Wow. What was the one, I mean, I'm sure there's so much, like you said, but if you had to distill it down to just one essential learning over that period of time, what was it?
The biggest thing for me was sitting in a meeting and hearing all this information come about tickets and ticket operations. And I can remember thinking, I have no idea what they're talking about. And I knew very early on, I mean, I don't know everything. I knew very early on that I had to surround myself with really good people. And, Luke Robitaille, he's the president of the LA Kings, amazing Hall of Fame hockey player. And they did the same thing with him with the Kings. And he was so gracious just with time and encouragement. And like you said earlier, you really need belief in people, and then you need to extend that to other people. And I found so many people that were above me and that worked for me that really leaned into what I was doing, what I was saying. Bruce Arena, another one, that took me under their wing and allowed me the time to learn.
Which is harder for you? I mean, I guess you can't say that you're ever really in control, even as a player, right? Like you're in more, I guess you're in control a little bit because you can execute your strategy. But
when you're playing,
when you're playing, which is harder for you? Was it harder to be down there and in the fire? Or literally, like I go back to yesterday, there's moments I'm watching you and like you want to jump out of your suit that you're in because you can only control it so much from there. You can put the pieces in place, coach, team, right? Let people do what they do. Yeah. Which do you have a harder time with?
Different challenges. Like I said, just this challenge and the pressure of performance when you're a player. But you're right. You can control, at least to some extent, you can control that result. Sitting in my seat, you can't control it. You can't control any of it. And so that weight that you carry is more, maybe because I'm in it now, maybe because I'm older, more mature, I guess. I would say maybe tougher now, but I mean, if you go back or talk to some of our players, they might have a different answer. But certainly working with all the people and not having control. I mean, what am I going to do up in the suite? I mean, that's the reality. Say I'm up there and I want to come out of my suit, but I have no impact on the result of the game.
Well, that's got to be slightly front. Like, how do you just sort of be at peace with that?
You're not. I mean, we do it. We talk a lot about how can we all contribute to the result in the field. And if I'm preaching that, I have to believe that myself. And take yesterday as an example. And I mean, our group worked their butts off to fill the stadium. That had an impact in the game. I mean, Javier did an interview after the game on ESPN that said, the emotion from the fans, really fed him and he could feel it. That's our impact. It all happens, away from the cameras and not where the public can see, but we do everything we can to influence the result, to lead, to encourage Greg, to support. And we do all that so that we can be a successful club.
I love that he said it was a Galaxy win. It was a full, total Galaxy win. Yeah. And that says a lot about who he is. And I guess this is for the Galaxy fans that are listening. Does he like Chicharito? Like, you obviously call him, do you call him Javier? I'm assuming
I call him Javier. Yeah.
Does he like Chicharito?
He likes Chicharito. Yeah. I mean, he puts it on the back of his shirt. It's getting to know him. We all have personalities and we all have, personal experiences that we go through. And everything Javier went through his first year here was not good. He was going through a lot and he's an emotional person. And then the second year, just to see this complete change, he came in my office. I know you asked if he liked his name, but I'll get there. He came in my office at the end of 2020 and he wanted to meet with me and he just sat in my office for an hour and he cried and he pledged his, just himself to the club. He was thankful we stood by him. And it was literally from that day, he has been incredible. I mean, the way that he has given to the club, the way that he gives to the fans, his performance on the field, anything we ask him to do, he's there. It's a really amazing thing just to see a change in a person. And for someone to take responsibility and ownership, and then to change it. And so that emotion, back to his name. I mean, he got the name from his father who also played, his name was Chicharito, which was P because he had green eyes. And then, this sort of legacy with his son and Chicharito and having it be little P, with his color of his eyes. And so, yes, that emotion, that connection to his grandfather that died a couple of years ago, having that connection is important to him. But I don't know if he likes it or not, but he certainly goes with it.
We're kind of back to belief, right? And the trust that he probably feels that you guys stood with him. Not beside him, but like genuinely with him. And he's delivered, no doubt. I think I think he just had his 20th goal in a Galaxy jersey. So he's 1 for 1 on this year. Yeah. Bravo. Yeah. But, you graciously, you believe in what I'm doing too. I wanted to let you know I appreciate that, and I acknowledge that, and super grateful for the opportunity, and understood the magnitude when you brought the front office, soccer ops, and the players together, right? It was one team that you allowed me to address a few weeks back on my message, and that did not kind of go lightly on me. And I've got sort of a standard keynote that I have, and that this was not the place for that. I mean, I had to kind of really work hard to make sure that I wasn't going to be an eye roll to the players. And I remember at one point making eye contact with Javier and sort of feeling like he was picking up what I was putting down. I felt like it wasn't an eye roll for him, but I don't know. You tell me. Like, the message, just so everyone. I was talking about how do you live on the left side of the hyphen, and when you're a sports club, and your record matters, you got to be on the left side of the hyphen. You feel like it went? Do we accomplish what you were hoping we would accomplish?
Yeah. So, and maybe this was the biggest win for me yesterday is, we spend all this time, and I've won games and lost games, and we've won championships, but to get a message through to a group of people, and then to have that belief in something, is a big thing to overcome. And so, in talks with you and trying to get our front office staff to buy into what Greg and the group and the players are talking about, and then to get Greg and the players to buy into everything that we're talking about, with our front office. That was the message. And it was, one Galaxy and, one team. And then just to see this overcoming of emotion with Javier. He just scored a goal in the 90th minute in front of full stadium. People came completely unglued. And there he went, right in his interview, talking about, it's not about him. He pointed to the atmosphere in the stadium. He pointed to the players on the bench, the backroom staff. That was the message. And here was our biggest star, who could have brought it back to himself. He was repeating what we had talked about, when we were talking. And that to me was maybe the biggest thing that made me excited about yesterday.
Yeah, it was. I'm so grateful I could be there for it. Yeah, it was like, it was. And by the way, touche and major props. I don't know if it was a easy decision, but it throws a wrinkle. Everything that's happening over in Ukraine, and to see you guys have a moment of silence for that. I don't think this is a check the box moment, and there's so much that goes into putting on an event. So I'm glad that you guys did that.
Well, I had our CMO, Doug, he came and he said, hey, we should do a moment of silence for Ukraine. And I said, okay, why? And not why, like, not that there's not this major thing going on in the world, but why? We talked about it, we thought about it, and, we came back and we said, because not only do we believe it's the right thing to do, but our new player, Douglas Costa, he played there for 7 years, got to start there. He wanted to have a Ukrainian flag on the bench, and he has a lot of people he cares about there. That's a why, because one of our family, was hurting for the people that were over there. So that was how we kind of walked through that decision to do something. And, you're seeing even with a conflict like this and a point in our world, just how sports can really speak into things like that. Is that not change, but it can. Sports can change, and we have an obligation or responsibility or opportunity, whatever you want to call it, to speak into things like that. And so we took our small part.
Well, it was a class moment, and you weren't doing it for the moment. You're doing it for the right reasons, which was clear. So I have a president question for you. So the rest of your month looks like this. I think you go to Charlotte, and then you go to Seattle, And then you host Orlando, who looked pretty good yesterday. And I had mentioned to you, I've got a good buddy named Jared Dillon, who's now the president over there. He comes to town. I want to connect you guys. Do you are there certain presidents that of other clubs that you have relationships that you talk to about, I don't like this term, but it's the term, best practices, or do you, or are you just so deeply competitive that it's you're on that team and we're on this team and that's that?
Yeah. I mean, one of my good friends is Larry Friedman, who's the president of LAFC, and John Thornton, they're co-presidents. We're supposed to hate each other, and we do. And we talk about it. We hate you guys, and we do, but we still talk. And I come from way back in our league where we had 10 teams, and it was 12 teams, and it was 14 teams. And so we all had to lean on each other. And when new clubs come in or someone else gets a job, we lean on each other. It goes back to, what I told you about before. I just had so many people that were willing to, and I still have people today that are willing to come alongside me and, give me encouragement and give me advice and, best practice, call it whatever you want. So our league is really great in that way, and that they foster those relationships. And so we definitely have them: presidents, GMs, coaches. I have people that I'm very close to, and by and large, I can't remember anyone turning down a call to say, hey, can you help me with this? Can you, what did you guys do with this campaign? Whatever. Everyone sort of shares that information freely. And, it's a great, fraternity, sorority of people that we all get to lean on.
So when you come into the league, Chris, again, as you're working your way up to being president on the front office side, you guys win in 3 of your first 4 years, I think, in the front office. Yeah. Are you oh, this is so easy. What could be easier? Yeah, we're going to put all these trophies. Yeah. And it's been 8 years now since you guys last won 14, and maybe that's some of it's kind of, with more teams, of course, it's going to make it harder and harder. But I imagine that, you do feel the pressure, to win. And when you think about the Galaxy, remember that game Super Password? If you said Galaxy, people would probably say win. And do you feel that right now? Is that a big thing for you?
Yeah. I mean, that's it. It's our history. It's being in LA. Expectations are there, and, we spend money as a club. And so you have all those things, and the expectation to perform and to win is there. And I definitely feel that, take that responsibility. It should be there. That should be a part of this. And so, I carry that with me.
Again, are you hearing that though from the age? Are they hey, we need to win? Do you hear that regularly, or do you just know it?
Regularly, yes. My boss is Dan Beckerman. His boss is Phil Anschutz. And, I tell everyone, talk about leadership, and you talk to leaders all the time. And, there's some people that lead by, big speeches, and they're huge personalities, and they walk into a room and it instantly, I have a boss that supports and that encourages and that comes alongside and doesn't, we need to win, but he doesn't look and say, hey, we need to win. And we have this understanding, with each other. And that for me has been, just for me personally has been this, you go through a tough time and you see how people come around you. And Dan has been that for me. He's been through this business and in this business. And, I'm continually amazed at how he leads. Because he's always stayed Dan Beckerman, who was he was the chief financial officer nerd that became CEO of the largest entertainment company in the world. And he stayed that. And it's just, it's something cool to see. So the pressure comes from, there. That's inherent. It comes from outside, which you can see and you can read. It comes from inside, just knowing the expectations that I put on myself that others have as well.
So it's sort of coming down the home stretch here. And I want to talk very quickly about World Cup. And, your world, sometimes when there's a problem, your world is as small as the problem, the biggest problem that you've got, right? So it could feel like, no, I got to focus on the Galaxy, but I know you're co-chairing the LA World Cup committee as well for 2026. And, you got to play through the rise of MLS. So, when I think about like the Chris Klein story, yeah, I know you're in it now and you've got to win, but do you sort of, can you step back and look at like, wow, U.S. soccer has come a long way? Or do you look at it like, oh man, we are so far behind, or somewhere in between? Like, where do you think we are?
We're not so far behind. I mean, if you think, you talk about a World Cup, and we have these kind of two bookends to look at where the sport is in this country. We have the 94 World Cup that was in this country that launched our league. Then here we are, a little over 25 years later, preparing for the 2026 World Cup, and to see what our league's going to look like in the run up to there and then after. So I think we're ahead of where maybe I thought or others thought we would be. Still definitely not there yet in kind of that global soccer landscape, but I truly believe with everything that I have that we're going to get there, and we're going to get there a lot faster than people would have ever thought. And so, the rocket fuel that a World Cup in this country is going to be able to provide is going to mean a tremendous amount to soccer in this country. And it's already night and day from what we were in 94 and 96 when the league has started. And in 10 years, it's going to be night and day than we're looking at it now.
I mean, you kind of skip over the 22, right? And I'm not sure if you're doing that because 26 is here in the U.S. and it's just the bookends are easy on when it was in the U.S. But, missing out on 18. And then, by the way, the U.S. is going to make the World. You think we're going to make the World Cup?
Yeah.
Okay. Please tell me we're going to make the World Cup.
We have to make the World Cup.
I have really big problems. I have a literal vested interest now.
Yeah.
With for those who don't know, I think most who listen do, but I've been working with Landon Donovan, who was your old teammate on his memoir, which is going to go live just a few months before the World Cup. So, we need to make this World Cup. So you think they're going to, if you're Berhalter, by the way, does the Mexico game even matter, or is all the energy on the Panama game here in the US?
In the Mexico game matters. We want to win in Azteca, which has never happened. You talk about milestones, and so we want to win there, and so it matters, and it can make the Panama game a lot less stressful. And so there's a lot of different influences and results that could change how we look at each of the games. But yes, we will qualify. You look towards 2022, and it's going to be a good test for a young group of players. But 2026 has to be, the focus of our country and how we prepare, and then, what we kind of look like after that.
So in the locker room right now, because, when you say we, you mean the U.S., but your we is also lots of we's now. I mean, you've got, right? What does that locker room look like, and how big is the World Cup for them? Is it just bragging rights? Is it pride?
With our players?
Yes.
The Galaxy players?
Yeah.
I think it seems far off in the distance. As a player, you're thinking of now. I mean, we won yesterday. You're thinking about Charlotte. You really think that short term about it. And so to look at 2026, that's someone else's problem, and I'll deal with that later. As a player, but if you're a young player, certainly thinking about playing in a World Cup in your country would be something that you would sort of put out there as a goal. But how it's going to affect all them, other than maybe a few, I would guess that they just don't have a grasp or haven't thought about it yet.
Well, I hope you're right that the team makes it. I hope the Galaxy continue to live on the left side of the hyphen. For those of you who've made it this far, what you see is what you get with Chris, which is what I love about him. He's genuinely a good dude who, of course, wants to win. And I look forward to seeing what happens with the Galaxy this year. And I've got my new jersey, thanks to you, that I'll be rocking. So any last words that you want to share here?
No, I just appreciate what you've been able to do with us and how you've been able to speak into our culture and our environment, and to allow us to be courageous in how we're changing a club and how we're looking at how we build this thing together. The way that you've been able to speak into all of us has been invaluable to us. So I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Go get Charlotte. Good to see you.
All right. Thanks, man.
Take care.
Bye.